Husband having EA. He thinks I don't know. Advice. TLDR. Husband having EA for up to 2 years. Blames me for marriage failure due to libido mismatch and not giving him enough attention. Does not own his role in marriage issues. Did a good job of making me feel like I was the cause of all of our issues. I am sick over the thought that this likely has been going on for over 2 years in some form or another, and that he has likely been discussing our relationship with her. I haven't let on that I am aware of any of this, as we will need to be figuring out finances, parenting, etc., and I can't risk making him hostile/angry. Interested in hearing from others in similar situation, how you navigate it and how to deal with the sick feeling of knowing and not being able to say anything. The full story is long, sorry, but for anyone willing to read or skim to the end, I'd be interested in any insights. I'm 99.9% certain my husband has been having an EA for at least 1 year and possibly 2. We are 52F and 56M, 3 teen children, 19M, 16F, 13F, married 23 years. Long-standing issue of libido mismatch, mine's low. In the earlier years he reacted by becoming snippy/nasty with me when it had been a while. Then when I was 8 months pregnant with number 3, I discovered he'd been using my PC, which I also use for my confidential work, to access porn sites. This affected me deeply during a vulnerable time. He also would give me the silent treatment when upset with me for this or for other unknown reasons. I probably didn't deal with it the most functional way. I would basically just ignore it and wait it out until he'd suddenly be talking to me again. Usually he never told me why he was mad, and I never asked. We rarely had fights because of this, but at one point when we did have a verbal disagreement, he told me he believed that people in a good relationship don't fight, that his parents never fought. I refuted this statement as, IMO, having disagreements isn't necessarily a reflection on the quality of the relationship. Over the years, our main points of contention were the bedroom and the fact that I am not especially tidy, clean but cluttered, and he prefers a minimalist environment, him. For me, initially bedroom pressure, his suggestions/research on how I can make myself interested, his silent treatment including once unfriending me on Facebook over a meme, and after kids came along, him undermining my parenting. I'm usually the bad guy when it comes to accountability and discipline, particularly with our oldest, who has been dealing with anxiety, behavior, and depression since he was 6. My son would often have angry outbursts, usually directed at me because I was the one dealing with his behaviors, and H sometimes would tell me that I don't have a good relationship with my son, whereas he did because he took him for walks, had friendly conversations without conflict, etc. Once our girls came along, he treated our son and the girls differently in terms of accountability for cleaning up, inter-sibling conflicts, etc. In my opinion, he avoided rocking the boat in any way with our son because he was afraid to provoke an angry outburst. After trying to talk about these concerns and getting responses like, "Oh, so I'm a bad parent," or "Oh, so I'm stupid," I was finding myself frequently angry/frustrated and eventually stopped broaching the issue and just parented the kids my way and let him do his own thing. I also began to feel more emotionally detached from him. In 2019 moved overseas because we felt it was best way to raise our kids. He retired, me still working remote. He kept busy with yard/house chores but had a lot of time to sit and think. In 2021, brought up to me that he was lonely, we didn't spend enough time together, etc., and wanted to work on our marriage. The way he presented it to me, it felt like a listing of my faults and made me feel really terrible and defective. When I tried to bring up my areas of concern or even defend/explain myself over some of his complaints, he said I was making it about me, his feelings are valid, and so on. A few months later, out of the blue, he asked me if I was having an EA with a FB friend who had made an off-color comment on a meme I'd posted. I wasn't. I told him no, and that this person was a married guy in his 60s who was a fellow member of a joke group I belonged to, and that I've never had any private chats with him. I was cheated on by my ex before him, and I've always been clear that I would never cheat in any way. I felt really hurt by the fact he'd think this of me, and it contributed to the emotional withdrawal I had already been experiencing over past issues. In 2022, he made a solo trip home to see his family. Shortly after his return, we built an addition on our house to give the girls their own rooms and new master BR. The day of moving into the new space, he had a massive blow-up over the fact that I'd let the girls not move their dressers into their new rooms, ranted about how he thought the house would finally be tidy after 20 years. He said he'd agreed with them that they'd move the dressers into their rooms. When I tried to explain what had happened and my rationale for not moving them, he accused me of gaslighting, and when I said that if I'd known he had an agreement with the girls, I would have followed through on their agreement. He said, I don't have to run my parenting decisions past you." Nothing I could say got through to him. This was all in front of the kids for the first time, and we were all taken aback. The year ensued with no real change to our relationship. If I'm honest, I was feeling disconnected, but yet not dissatisfied in terms of being content to let things coast, raise the kids, and not rock the marriage boat. A split felt so daunting. 2023, he had another trip home, and this time when he returned, he sat me down for a talk, angry that I had not done anything to change things, and brought up separation. When I balked at that, saying I didn't want to separate, he essentially gave me a list of things I would need to do and change in order for him to consider staying, more intimacy in the bedroom, spending time together, etc. Some of what he described as his ideal partner were really personality characteristics that essentially weren't me. In a nutshell, it felt like he was describing wanting to be with, not me. Additional issues for him were more recent disparity in our sleep-wake times. He has gravitated to a 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. schedule. I'm a night owl 8-2/3 am, and due to different dietary needs, we have not been eating together as a family consistently. He cooks for him and the kids because he needs a set 6 p.m. dinner time and formal meal consistent with his upbringing, whereas I have always been more casual about meals. Nevertheless, we tried doing things together, and I tried to be intimate more often, despite not having much interest. I was hoping things would slowly improve over time as we started reconnecting. Fast forward to this May when he again went home. When he came back, he informed me he wanted to separate, that he was unhappy, that I hadn't changed the things he'd told me I need to change last year. He said he wanted to spend more time back home, that he hadn't made friends here and was lonely. He seemed to have everything planned in his head already, including suggesting he take the kids back for the school year and have them spend summers here with me. He essentially kicked me out of my own bed. Out of the blue, he stated, "I wouldn't cheat. I wouldn't do that after my ex cheated on me." I thought this was odd, but didn't say anything at the time. A couple of days later, my daughter asked me why his bedroom door was locked. It never is. Due to the cheating comment he'd made, I got suspicious and checked the Wi-Fi history and found he was spending an hour or more a day on Zoom. Not long after that, I saw one of his browser tabs with a name on it, so I did some digging through his Facebook profile. She is a childhood friend of his sister, and based on likes/comments, they appeared to connect in 2022 during his first trip home. A few days later, while he was in the shower, I had a chance to check his phone lock screen and saw a WhatsApp notification from her, which all but confirmed it. Since then, I've overheard him talking to a woman. He sits out on the balcony using speaker on whatever app he's using and doesn't use an inside voice. He has already booked a trip back for August/September. I am sick over the thought that this likely has been going on for over 2 years in some form or another, and that he has likely been discussing our relationship with her. I haven't let on that I am aware of any of this, as we will need to be figuring out finances, parenting, etc., and I can't risk making him hostile/angry.